Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone you trust. Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, even someone you care about deeply. They're smiling. Their voice sounds calm, convincing. Their words flow smoothly, every detail perfectly placed. But then, something freezes inside you, a small, almost invisible warning. A flicker in your chest, a hesitation in your mind. Something doesn't feel right. You brush it off. You want to believe them. After all, they've never lied to you before, right? Days later, the truth hits you. That small, nagging feeling. It was real, and you were right, all along. They lied. What if I told you that you could catch that lie in real time, before you ever get hurt? That's exactly what spies do. They read people not just by words, but by what words can't hide. And today, I'm going to teach you how to do the same. Not for espionage, but for life. Because manipulation, deceit, and betrayal aren't just stories in spy novels. They happen in your relationships, your workplace, and even with the people you trust most. If you stick with me through this video, you'll learn how spies detect lies before the liar even speaks. You'll understand why trusting words is the single biggest mistake you can make. I'll show you how to read behavior patterns, not stories, to protect yourself, and how deception hides in tiny changes in voice, posture, and micro-expressions. And most importantly, you'll learn how to use these techniques in your life without becoming paranoid. Because once you see the truth hiding in human behavior, you can never unsee it. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone who later betrayed you? Have you ignored warning signs because it was easier to believe them? Have you looked back and thought, I knew it, but I didn't act? Comment, I've been there below. Be honest, it's not for me, it's for yourself. Because what you'll learn here isn't about spying it's about understanding the people around you and yourself. Here's the hard truth. Humans are terrible at detecting lies. Even trained professionals, judges, psychologists, police officers get it wrong more than half the time. And why? Because we've been trained to focus on the wrong signals. Think about it. How many times have you heard, liars avoid eye contact, liars fidget nervously, liars smile less? Most of this is wrong. Some of the most convincing liars maintain eye contact effortlessly. They smile naturally, even during deception. They speak with confidence and calm. The lies that hurt us the most don't sound like lies, they feel normal, and that's why they succeed. Spies don't guess. They observe. They don't rely on gut feelings, they rely on behavioral truth hidden in plain sight. Spies learn one thing before anything else. Words are rehearsed, reactions are not. When someone lies, they prepare what they will say, not how their body reacts. Your brain leaks information in ways you don't control. Your posture, micro-expressions, gestures, and even your breathing patterns all tell a story that rehearsed words cannot hide. And here's the life-changing part. You can learn to read these signs in your everyday life, in relationships, in workplaces, with friends, strangers, even strangers who seem trustworthy. The ability to see what others try to hide can save you from heartbreak, betrayal, and missed opportunities. Before a spy can detect a lie, they must establish a baseline. A baseline is how someone normally behaves when they're relaxed, honest, and under no pressure. How they speak, how they move, how they gesture, how they breathe, everything is noted. The baseline is your reference point. Once the baseline is clear, any deviations from it become powerful signals. A twitch that wasn't there before. A sudden change in tone, freezing in the middle of a sentence. These are the moments when deception reveals itself not in words, but in behavioral changes. Picture this in your own life. Your friend usually chats freely, laughing and gesturing. One day, you ask them, "Did you talk to him?" Suddenly, their voice slows down. Their hands freeze. They pause for an unusually long time before repeating your question back to you. Then they say, No, I didn't. The words sound normal, but their behavior is screaming that something is off. Most people miss this. Spies don't. They observe before accusing. They note before acting. And the truth is, you can too. So why do we miss these red flags? Your brain wants shortcuts. Listening to words is easy. Observing behavior takes effort. So what happens? You ignore tiny but crucial signals. You trust confidence over consistency. You believe smooth explanations over pattern changes. Spies train themselves to stay in that uncomfortable space. They slow down, they observe, they wait. You can too, and that patience is power. Think about how many times you've said to yourself, I felt something was off, but I ignored it. Or, I didn't want to overthink. Or, I trusted them and regretted it later. It wasn't your intuition failing. It was your intuition being silenced. Manipulators rely on this. Your politeness, your self-doubt, your desire to avoid confrontation. Spies don't fear being wrong. They fear being blind. Here's the first spy technique you can use today, right now. It's simple. Pause. When someone answers a question, resist the urge to fill the silence. Don't interrupt. Don't move on to the next topic. Truth flows naturally. Lie, stall, add unnecessary details, or over-explain. This simple pause is the most basic lie detector you have. Psychology explains why liars tend to talk too much. Lying is mentally exhausting. There's the fear of being exposed, the pressure to appear convincing, and the desire to control the other person's perception. The result? Over-explaining, repeating details, or using unnaturally formal speech. Truth doesn't need decoration. Lies do. Spies listen for the effort behind the words, not just the words themselves. This is especially true in our relationships, where lies hurt the most. Most lies start small. I forgot. I didn't see your message. It's nothing. Spies know that small lies train people to ignore patterns. The real danger isn't the single lie, it's the repetition. Repeated behavioral deviations signal concealment. When you learn to notice them, you can act wisely and protect yourself. Learning these techniques doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. Spies don't assume everyone is lying. They assume anyone can lie under pressure. Good people, loved ones, strangers, and yes, even you. Because lying is human, but awareness is power. The biggest lies aren't told with words. They're told with timing, pauses, inconsistencies, and micro-expressions. Now we'll explore facial secrets, hidden emotions, and the micro-expressions that reveal truth before the mind can even stop it. Less than a second of a facial movement can change everything. Once you see them, you'll never trust a fake smile again. Ever wonder what people are really thinking? Not what they say, but what they're trying to hide. Imagine having the power to see behind the mask, to spot a lie before it hurts you. This isn't a superpower, it's a skill. And it's a skill that spies have mastered. Today, we're unlocking their secrets. Let's start with micro-expressions. These are tiny, involuntary facial expressions that flash across someone's face in a fraction of a second. You can't fake them, and you can't stop them. A person might try to give you a convincing smile, but a flash of fear or contempt will appear before they can control it. A fake smile often just lifts the mouth, but it doesn't reach the eyes. The corners don't crinkle. A brief tightening of the jaw can signal anger. A quick raise of the eyebrows and widening of the eyes can reveal fear, even if their voice is perfectly calm. Most people miss these signs because they happen in milliseconds. But your brain can catch them if you learn to slow down and just observe. But here's a critical rule spies live by. Never judge a single gesture alone. One eye twitch doesn't prove someone is lying. A single nervous smile is meaningless. What really matters is the cluster effect. Imagine you see several signals happening all at once. Their voice pitch suddenly rises. Their blink rate increases. their fingers start to twitch, and you spot a micro-expression of fear. When these signals happen together, the probability of deception skyrockets. This cluster effect is one of the most powerful tools for understanding what's really going on. Let's make this real. Picture a colleague at work, someone who's usually relaxed and cheerful, giving a presentation. You ask a simple, non-threatening question. Did you finish the Johnson report? Now, watch closely. Their eyes briefly flick to the side. Their mouth tightens for just a split second. Their voice, usually steady, goes up a notch as they answer confidently, "Yes, finished it this morning." If you weren't paying attention, you'd think everything was fine. But if you caught those tiny signals, your brain is sending you a message. Something here doesn't add up. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being observant. Spies study the eyes more than any other part of the body. Why? Because the eyes often tell the truth when the mouth is busy lying. In general, quick shifts to the left might indicate someone is recalling a memory, while shifts to the right can suggest they're constructing something new or fabricating. Widening eyes can signal fear or surprise, while narrowing them can show suspicion or doubt. Your eyes can detect someone's emotional leak, even if their words are perfectly rehearsed. Think about it. Haven't you ever had a conversation where someone's words said one thing, but their eyes told a completely different story? That's your brain picking up on these signals naturally. Spies just sharpen that instinct into a science. But it's not just the face. The voice and even breathing patterns can give the game away. When people are being deceptive, they might speak slightly faster or slower than their normal pace. You might notice strange pauses or repeated words, which can signal their brain is working overtime to fabricate a story. Shallow or uneven breathing is a classic sign of stress. Sometimes, liars overcompensate by using overly precise or formal language. Spies notice these subtleties because lying is mentally exhausting, and the body reacts before the mind can cover its tracks. We often focus so much on words, but body language speaks volumes. Have you ever seen someone suddenly tuck their hands in their pockets or start fidgeting when a certain topic comes up? What about crossing their arms or turning their body slightly away from you? Or maybe their feet are pointing toward the exit, not toward you. These aren't coincidences. They are subconscious signals that reveal discomfort or concealment. Imagine a friend who usually leans in while talking, but suddenly sits rigid and still when you ask a specific question. That shift is meaningful. You don't have to accuse them. You simply observe and register the change. Spies use what's called the lie detection triad to put all of this together. It consists of 3 parts: face, voice, and body. The face shows micro-expressions and emotional leaks. The voice reveals changes in pitch, tone, or hesitations. The body gives away clues through posture, gestures, and movement. When you see deviations from their normal behavior in 2 or more of these categories at the same time, your internal alarms should go off. Again, no single signal is proof, but the combination creates a map of deception, a map you can learn to read to protect yourself. Ultimately, emotion is a liar's weakest point. Even the most skilled deceiver can't completely control their feelings of fear, guilt, or shame. And these emotions escape in microflashes. A quick flicker of contempt when they're pretending to praise someone. A subtle look of disgust when discussing an event they claim to be fine with. A tiny flash of fear right before answering a direct question. You've seen this in your own life with a friend, a partner, or a coworker. You notice it subconsciously, but often dismiss it. The only difference between you and a spy notices it consciously. Think about a time a partner might have been hiding something. They say, "I just stayed late at work." The words sound normal. The voice is calm. The smile seems convincing, but your observation picks up more. A tiny eyebrow twitch when they mention their boss. A micro-expression of guilt that flashes in their eyes. Slightly shallow breathing. These subtle signs are telling you the real story is somewhere else. The power is in having this awareness. Here's a simple but powerful technique spies use: silence. When you ask a question and then just stay silent, a liar will often feel the need to fill that empty space. They'll start talking too much, over-explaining, or trying to justify themselves unnecessarily. The truth tends to be simple and consistent. Lies stumble, repeat, and overcompensate. You can use this in your own life immediately. Just ask, wait, and observe. Let the silence do the work for you. This is all about observation, not judgment. You're not trying to catch someone in a lie so you can confront them. You are simply collecting data. Watch for those clusters of behavior. Compare what you're seeing to their normal baseline. Look for inconsistencies. Note the emotional leaks. This approach prevents unnecessary conflict and builds your situational awareness. But be careful of a major trap: confirmation bias. Humans are wired to see what we want to see. If you already suspect someone is lying, every little twitch will look suspicious. If you trust someone blindly, you'll ignore all the warning signs. Spies are trained to eliminate this bias. They record observations objectively and wait for clear patterns to emerge. You can do this too. Pause your judgment and focus only on the observable facts, not your assumptions. So, how can you apply this spy mindset to your everyday life? First, always start with a baseline. How does this person normally behave? Then observe 4 clusters. Look for deviations across their face, voice, and body. Track inconsistencies over time, because patterns matter more than single events. See how they react to a little stress, like a curious question. And most importantly, stay emotionally detached. Your job is to observe, not to judge. Your own life is the perfect practice ground. Conversations with friends, negotiations at work, family interactions, every single one is an opportunity to practice. Every micro-expression, every hesitation, every shift in posture is a piece of data. Once you start noticing these things consciously, you'll begin to see a hidden layer of human behavior that most people completely miss. And you'll find that your intuition is no longer just a vague feeling, it is backed by real, observable evidence. Learning to read people changes everything. It's going to become less likely to be manipulated by smooth talkers. You can identify hidden intentions before they cause problems. You gain a rare power to understand people on a much deeper level. Every microexpression, every subtle gesture, every hesitation is a piece of a hidden puzzle. But here's the most dangerous part. The truly skilled manipulators know how to mask these signals. They mix truth with lies. They use their confidence to distract you. They know your mind is busy listening to their words, not watching their behavior. We'll cover how they combine truth and lies to fool even the most observant people, and the mental techniques you can use to uncover these hidden layers. Once you learn these secrets, the lies people tell won't stay hidden any longer. Do you ever get that feeling that something is just off? You think you know the truth, but what if the world you see is filled with hidden agendas and carefully crafted half-lies? Not everyone is openly dishonest. The most skilled manipulators mix truth with lies so well that even a close observer can be fooled. They use confidence, charm, and perfect timing to hide their real intentions. This is the world spies train to navigate, and these are the skills you can learn to see right through the deception. First, let's talk about the mask of confidence. A smooth, steady voice, calm gestures, and authentic seeming eye contact to most people. This screams honesty. But spies know that confidence can be a performance. Liars often use overconfidence to distract you from the inconsistencies in their stories. They might mirror your behavior, mimic your tone, or fill silences with reassuring words, all to make you feel comfortable and less likely to question them. They anticipate your questions and answer them before you even ask, cutting off any chance for scrutiny. The key is to watch for the cracks beneath the surface. Even the most confident liar can't fully control subtle emotional leaks. A jaw that tightens for a split second, a micro twitch in an eyelid, or a fleeting frown. These are all signs that your subconscious has already detected something isn't right. This brings us to one of the most dangerous techniques: hiding the truth within lies. Skilled manipulators rarely tell outright lies. Instead, they mix in facts that you know are true to build credibility, and then they slip in the falsehoods. For example, your coworker tells you they completed a crucial part of a project, which is true. They then claim the entire project is finished, which is a lie. Spies call this anchoring in truth. It makes the deception incredibly hard to spot because your brain latches onto the parts it recognizes as true and gives the rest a free pass. The strategy to counter this is to break down information into smaller pieces and look for patterns over time. Don't just accept a statement at face value. Observe clusters of behavior and inconsistencies. Does the story change slightly with each telling? That's a red flag. Here's a classic spy tactic you can use: the time trap. Watch how people react under time pressure or when a topic is revisited after a delay. Liars often struggle to keep their stories straight. Even a small time gap can reveal major discrepancies in what they say, their micro-expressions, or their body language. You can practice this subtly in your own life. If someone tells you a task is done, don't just take their word for it. Circle back to it a few hours or a few days later with a follow-up question. Watch not just what they say, but how their body reacts. A slight hesitation, a defensive tone, or a story that suddenly has way more detail than it did before, these are the signs you're really looking for. Truth is stable. Deception shifts and changes. Another powerful tool is understanding repetition. Liars often rehearse their stories, but this can actually be their undoing. When you ask them to repeat the story, especially in a different way or at a different time, you'll start to see the cracks. Spies notice that repetition often introduces slight variations as the liar tries to remember their script. They might add unnecessary details to plug holes they think you found. Their micro-expressions of stress, like fear or guilt, might become more obvious the more they have to retell the lie. A simple life application: if something feels off about a story, just ask about it again later from a different angle. "Oh, you mentioned you finished that report. What was the most interesting finding?" Observe if the response is consistent with the original story. Now, let's talk about the feelings reveal principle. No matter how skilled they are, manipulators struggle to completely hide their true emotions. Fear, guilt, shame, or even excitement about getting away with something can leak out in tiny, almost invisible ways. It could be a quick flash of contempt when they talk about someone, their eyes darting away when a sensitive topic comes up, or subtle signs of anxiety like shallow breathing, tense shoulders, or rapid blinking. Even the best actors can't suppress these biological responses completely. By training your attention on these emotional shifts, you can detect hidden intentions long before the words themselves give anything away. Let's imagine a real-life example. Your close friend claims they had no idea about a big decision that negatively affects you. Their words sound sincere. Their tone is normal. But you notice something. When the topic comes up, you see a micro-expression of guilt flash across their face. You notice their breathing is a little shallow, and they're fidgeting with their hands, avoiding direct eye contact for just a split second. Later, you find out they knew all along, but chose not to tell you. The signs were there the whole time, hidden in their behavior, not their words. Seeing those signs earlier could have prepared you to ask the right questions and protect yourself. You know that gut feeling you get sometimes? It's that little voice that says something is wrong. Spies rely on that intuition, but they don't just trust it blindly. They train it with cold, hard observation. Don't dismiss those subtle signals as just your imagination. Start watching for clusters of behavior, not just one isolated action. A single odd gesture could mean nothing, but 3 or 4 of them together tell a story. Pay close attention to any deviation from a person's normal behavior, their baseline. Over time, your gut feeling becomes much sharper because it's informed by real, observable data, not just a vague feeling. This becomes even more crucial in social settings, where deception is everywhere. Spies in a room observe the invisible dynamics. Who mirrors whom? Who controls the conversation? Who reacts with emotion before they've even had time to think? These tiny social cues reveal hidden hierarchies, secret alliances, and true intentions. In your everyday life, this translates to detecting a colleague who is trying to manipulate a project. Outcome noticing a friend who is subtly influencing group decisions for their own benefit, or spotting an individual who simply doesn't have your best interests at heart. This isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about developing awareness. Beyond simple lies, you need to watch for advanced manipulation techniques. Things like gaslighting, where someone makes you doubt your own memory or perception. "I never said that. You're imagining things." Or using selective truths, mixing facts with lies to build your trust before deceiving you. There's also emotional leverage, where they use guilt, fear, or a sense of obligation to get you to do what they want. And a particularly sneaky one is mirroring and mimicking, where they copy your gestures, your tone, and your speech patterns to build an unconscious rapport with you, making you more likely to trust them. By observing behavior clusters and micro-emotions, you can spot these techniques before they start to affect your decisions. One of the sneakiest forms of deception is the slow reveal strategy. This isn't one big lie, but a series of small omissions or tiny distortions that are repeated over time. Each one on its own seems insignificant, but together they paint a completely false picture. Spies handle this by tracking behavior over long periods, noting any deviation from a person's baseline. For you, this could mean journaling your observations, mentally tracking patterns in conversations, or just noticing repeated inconsistencies in someone's stories. When lies accumulate slowly, the pattern eventually becomes obvious, and your awareness becomes your best defense. But here's a crucial point. Spies know that understanding others begins with understanding yourself. Are you prone to believing what you want to believe? Do you tend to ignore small red flags just to avoid conflict? Are your own assumptions and biases coloring your perception of a situation? By observing yourself honestly, you can start to eliminate your own blind spots. Sharpen your judgment and see people for who they really are, not just who you hope them to be. You don't need years of spy training to start applying these strategies. You can start today. First, just observe quietly. In conversations, pay attention to gestures, micro-expressions, and changes in voice. Second, establish baselines. Get to know how the people in your life normally behave so you can spot when they deviate from it. Third, look for clusters of signs. One red flag might be a fluke, but a cluster of 3 or 4 is a pattern. Fourth, test for consistency. Revisit topics later and ask subtle follow-up questions. Fifth, use the power of silence. Don't feel the need to fill every conversational gap. Let the other person's behavior reveal itself in that space. And finally, stay emotionally detached. Observation is not accusation, it's simply awareness. These methods give you the power to protect yourself, make smarter decisions, and avoid manipulation, all without becoming paranoid. Ignoring these subtle signals can be costly. It can lead to relationships built on deception, career opportunities lost to manipulation, and personal decisions influenced by misinformation. The smallest micro-expression or behavioral tick can be a warning sign of something much bigger, but only if you've learned how to see it. So, here's the final spy secret. The most skilled manipulators don't hide in the shadows. They hide in plain sight. They are masters of mixing truth and lies, confidence and subtle deceit. But here's the thing. Nothing escapes careful observation. Your task isn't to go around accusing people of lying. It's to train your own awareness to notice deviations from the norm, and to recognize the patterns of deception when they appear. Once you start applying these principles, you'll notice that lies become harder for people to tell you convincingly. Manipulators will lose their power over you, and you will gain a new level of clarity in your decisions and your relationships. In short, you'll start to see the world as it really is, not just as people pretend it to be. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights. Stay aware and stay safe.